Okay, next will be the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read through the minutes from July 19th? And if so, I'm looking for a motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, second by Neil. Any discussion?
That Chris was first?
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is Randy.
Oh, that was quick and easy.
Let's hope the rest is.
So we'll go over the trucks first. One of the newer ones, 214, is in the garage with doing some maintenance, minor stuff, but steering gearbox started leaking and so on and so forth. So if you go in there and the whole thing's torn apart, don't get excited. Parts will be here tomorrow and we'll be back. Our paving is scheduled right now for Gilmantown for the end of August. If we have everything right and the sun keeps staying out for the rest of their work, stay on schedule.
How much you doing there?
We're gonna try to do 1.5 miles if I can get the stone. Right now they're out of stone and I am at just over 1 mile worth stored at shop. So then, if we can, they can crush it and we can get it hauled from Barrett's to here before the papers get here, then that's what we're gonna go to 1.5 miles, which will bring us down to the lake on the old, the parking lot by the lake.
Yep.
That's our goal. We are ditching, we already pretty much ditched from the end of the road up to there to start drying that up for next year. 2 years ago, we did the north end of the road, and we're going to hitting the washouts that we've had over the last few, 6 months worth of rain that we've had. So we're straightening that out to prep the road to get it ready for paving. A thank you goes out to the village. They've been allowing us to use their single axle trucks so our tandems can keep hauling the gravel here. So we've been borrowing one of theirs 2 or 3 days a week. So that's helped out a lot. As Roger said, he doesn't have any, he's busy doing other things, so he doesn't have any use for it, so.
It's always nice.
He didn't have any problems with it. Museum. Bob Bankovich came to me this morning and asked me to go down and walk through it with him with a punch list that he collected last week of saying safety things that need to be addressed. So this morning I brought Andy and Matt down and we went with Bob and went through some house cleaning things that the museum people need to keep track of. Things in front of doors and things in front of hot water heaters and so on and so forth, electric panels. We also have some minor, signage, road signs. He doesn't like where this sign is on the building up on top. Nobody looks up there. He wants it more eye level. Exit signs, so on and so forth. They had the back door padlocked from the inside. That is not through fire code. So that was removed. And there's just a hasp there. When anybody's in there, they have to unlock that. So as far as there's a couple planks on the back, quote unquote ramp, not really a handicap ramp, that needed to be replaced. Some housekeeping out back. There was, I don't know how many years ago, stuff got stored behind the building. He wants that all gone also. So most of that was taken care of today. We have to get it on our schedule for fire extinguisher inspector to hit that building. With the rest of our buildings, there's 2 fire extinguishers in there that needed to be inspected. But everything's pretty much been taken care of, and we'll get to the rest of it tomorrow. One big issue that he brought up, and I agree with, is we really should think about next year getting some prices so we can put it, or this year prices, so we can put it in next year's budget, of removing some of those enormous trees that are alongside to the east side of it. There's a ash tree and a pine tree that is towering over the top of it that needs, that, you know, it just keeps dropping branches on the roof that's marginal at best. And it's not letting any sunlight in there. And it's definitely not helping the rotting of the building. We all know that if you keep a building in the hole, the wet and everything else that we've had this year, it has no chance of drying out. So something that the board should think of is, you know, there's probably 5 trees in there that have to be professionally taken down. They are monsters. So, especially that ash. That is a dangerous tree to cut out in the field, never mind.
Overhearing,
Between 2 buildings.
overhearing a few of the folks in the room before talking about construction and contractors. This is a pretty long list to get on with tree removal type folk too, so maybe we'll talk to them this year and contract next.
Right, that's probably about the appropriate schedule.
Yeah.
So, unless it's life threatening, I don't think you're gonna see any.
Tree people have been pretty busy.
Very,
Yeah.
very.
If you want, I will gladly talk to 1 or 2 of them and see if we can get some prices.
Okay, I just wrote a note for you or I, but that's good. Okay,
Well, what they'll probably do is give you, you know, 20 minutes to walk through,
Mm-hmm,
and then they prioritize like triage, they say,
yeah,
that's no pun intended. They look at it and say, this is emergent, or this can wait till next
yeah.
year. That's what they've done with a couple of my friends that I put them onto, so.
Okay, so the next thing, garbage. Obviously, I wasn't here at the last meeting. We had the big overflow at the town Sunday dumpster, which has not arisen again, so that's a good thing. That dumpster's put out there for Sunday night usage for the people, transient people I will call it, that are leaving and, you know, don't want the garbage cans out and such, and things knocking them over and blah, 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 and we have to look at it all week until they get back up here on Friday. For the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years, it's worked out great. And once in a while, you know, it's full but not overflowing. This time it was, oh my. And we had a bear there, Eddie happened to pull in when the bear was pulling stuff out and scared it away, thankfully. It was that time.
Was that actually that full, or was it just
Oh, yeah.
because nobody could open it?
Oh no, it was
People had left stuff outside of it
lids
as
were
well.
wide open and stuffed right full and kept on stuffing. I can show you pictures.
Well, I saw it,
Yeah.
I rode by and I saw it
Oh.
that Sunday night.
This is this past Sunday?
No.
This is a couple
Back-
weeks
he's going
ago.
back.
I'm just reiterating that, the fact that, you know, this could be a bad situation.
But it's been
this is
better.
what we discussed at the last meeting, Chris.
Right.
It's been better.
Yes, it's been better since then, so hopefully whatever we've gotten out there is working. And, the locals that have the garbage pickup that live here or whatever, use the garbage pickup. That going into the next subject is the garbage pickup. We've had some dumpster issues at the businesses, we've rectified, we've even had one, trailer park ask us to purchase a dumpster and then they will reimburse us for it, because they don't know what dumpster we need as far as what will hook up to our truck. So I agreed with that, we have another bear-proof dumpster coming into our fleet that they're going to buy from us, and put in at the trailer park, so that we get rid of a shed that was right full of maggots and everything else.
Oh,
That was horrible.
And showed pictures, so on and so forth. I, you know, told the guys refuse to go in there. I mean, it's just, I mean, they're literally crunching underneath their feet as they're walking in.
Bears love maggots.
It was
Yeah.
disgusting.
So,
Protein.
the next thing that's come up now,
Cummies.
if it's not just one thing after another with the garbage, is everybody is bringing up from their city homes these large trash cans that are 40, 50 pounds plus on wheels, that they stand at the end of the road and the guy comes with the garbage truck that has a clam on it and dumps into the garbage truck. We don't have that. And the guys started by just opening the lid and grabbing the bags out. Well, that works out great for the first week or two until 1 or 2 of the bags rip. And then that stuff doesn't get cleaned out until the next time, and then you have the nastiness again. Or the guys tipped the garbage can over on hearing, didn't hear this until until last Thursday, and dump it on the ground and then pick it up.
Come on.
Now, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Randy, excuse me, don't, in all of our
Yes.
rules and regs,
It's
don't we have a
states right
weight?
40 pounds.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So, this garbage can,
Yeah,
is way one
We
empty.
helped make it, I just thought that's right.
It's there, it's right on the front page,
Mhm.
in bold letters.
I would've guessed 30, it's 40
So,
pounds, okay.
we now have.
That's
it.
40 pounds full,
Yes,
right.
that's with garbage.
Our issue here is starting off with a,
40 pound empty
yes.
plus. Some of them are, armpit high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
they're
you
big
can't
ones.
reach in to get the bottom bags if you had to. So, that being said, we now have a possible injury reported to us today. And this is going to, ramp things up in my mind, let's put it that way. So now, I've suggested to them before that they tag it and not, now I'm going to require that they do not. So as of this coming Thursday, we will not be picking any of those large garbage cans up, we will not be doing anything with it. We will be putting a big old orange sticker on it. and
Sticker, good.
Absolutely.
Have a nice day. And when the phone calls start coming in, then we'll deal with it, but they're gonna have to go down and get garbage cans. And I know that there's gonna be phone calls,
Okay.
because I know 2 or 3 of them that I've seen on my road. These people are not gonna be happy.
Right, as you say, they're bringing with them things that were designed for a mechanical lift, and that's not what we had.
Right.
So,
And unless this board wants me to expedite a garbage truck to pick these, I shall gladly do. And then tell the resource out and then tell each and every individual they have to buy one of these garbage cans. That's the only other option.
Seems like the first option would be the
Yeah.
obvious one.
The logical.
Logical.
Plus they say the lids are like, it's so cumbersome because the bottoms are
Yeah.
more narrow than the tops, and then the tops are
Right.
so heavy.
Right,
That
and
really
then
is,
when you go to throw this up, that lid folds back over
Yep,
and it
right,
stops the
yep.
garbage from coming out,
Yep.
even if you do take 2 guys to pick the garbage can in the back of the truck.
And if
This is
it's,
not designed for what we're
if
doing.
it's
It
backwards,
used to
it
be,
gets caught in the
well,
garbage.
Don it used to be 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I just drove down here and saw 6 on my way here. And that's from Fish Mountain Road to here. And I know I was there on South Shore Road, there's 2 or 3 over there. I probably count 15 to 20 of them on our garbage route now. So it's gotta come to a screeching halt.
Well, when you say that, are you talking about all those that have the wheels, or the ones that are the Sidewinder, made for the,
Well, all those sidewinders have wheels.
I realize, but
The regular
but not
garbage-
the other way, there's lots of them you can buy in Walmart that are not for the Sidewinder, but they.
Right.
They have not as big.
I'm asking if.
Right, they're not as big, they're not
Right.
as heavy, they're
Right,
not
there
as
you
rugged,
go.
because the sidewinder, as you're calling it,
Yeah,
are super heavy duty because of the clamp.
Thick.
yes,
And
yeah,
then it,
I'm familiar.
throw it in there.
they
Those
also,
things are just heavy.
right, and they're used in a lot of municipalities that
And
have
that's why
single
we
source.
did, back when Leo was here, we put on there the weight thing.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't wanna have the guy get out of the truck and have a scale and pull it up. No,
We
we're not
addressed
taking
it,
that, but
we addressed this before, it's just every so often we have to enforce in order to sort of
Correct.
so
Mind them.
just
refocus.
beware that phone calls are gonna
We have
start
to
coming.
educate.
That's all right.
Are they called anything in particular? I mean, Neil said Sidewinder, I
No,
don't know.
that's what the garbage men down there called the pickups that did that. They also did the recycles that way, but
Right,
they had single
right.
source, sorting. My point is, rather than us get too specific, since it's
Right,
a
we
whole.
can't just say wheeled garbage cans, there's
It's-
a lot of wheeled
Right,
garbage.
right.
It's about weight, so
It's about weight.
unless they're gonna put nothing in them, if they're going and bringing out of Home Depot something that weighs 35 pounds, they're not gonna be able to put much garbage in. Let's put the onus on the folks putting it out there. Put out a few smaller, or however you wanna do it. I personally had to work this out with my own garbage man. I have one of those Rubbermaid heavy things. And he said, geez, he said, you just can't put that much in there because we can't lift it. So I either fill it halfway or I use the second or third can. And, it's a smart play, but
Easy answer.
easy answer is wait. If you're not sure,
And a
get
lot
the
of-
lighter one.
And a lot of these people, once again, are putting them out on Sundays and leaving.
Mhm.
And then, they're just expecting it to be gone because that's what it does in the city. Well,
It's
you
like-
know, that's,
Right.
Yeah, just to notice it shouldn't weigh over 40 pounds on the.
Total.
Total on the note, should
Right.
yeah. And that orange sticker has, I do believe, weighs too heavy or something of that nature. And we all know that fluorescent orange sticker is pretty bold.
Yes, it is.
Might have to get new ones made
We
up.
might, I was already told we're down to less than a whole roll, so.
Well, my
This
thought
is probably
is,
gonna spin them off pretty quick.
yeah, do, this can is too heavy, or this can is wrong can, or
Well,
something
they
like
now have
that.
also have fluorescent green duct tape that they're sticking that note with, onto it.
Good.
And circling
Oh,
what's wrong.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Right on the rules.
we add new people every day, we have to re-educate, like the supervisor said.
So that is, right now, the big topic of discussion is, you know, we went from dumpsters to now cans. And I know it's all the you know, the saying it's the garbage Nazis, well, sorry, garbage is a big part of our business.
Yeah.
And we now have one injured employee due
Correct.
to the weight,
Right.
Being a garbage
trying to
Nazi.
lift them.
Mhm.
So
So,
Look at that.
we have to look out for our
things have to
employees.
change. And this is going to turn into very expensive for the town.
Next.
That's it.
Whoa, that wasn't so
I ran through
bad.
it pretty quick.
Okay. Okay, so that's it, okay. Okay, so I thought Sammy was gonna be here tonight, I didn't have her on the agenda, but she didn't make it, so we'll just move on. Old business, the right-of-way closing update, I had sent you all a copy of that information from the minutes from 1997. Chris also had emailed me, information with a book and page number, with some information that might be of help when I talk to Laura, our attorney. I was hoping to speak with her today. She did not call me this afternoon, so I'm hoping it will be tomorrow, because she seems to think now that we got this rectified, that we should be able to be closing shortly, and we got the bill for the quitclaim deed today, so I'm thinking that it should be shortly. So, that's the story with that. The American Rescue Plan, we received a check on July 22nd in the amount of $21,399 and change. The monies will be kept in a liability account until it is expended, then that amount can be recorded as revenue. We have to set up a special expenditure account to record aid money in. I'll keep everybody posted. Jody is still getting more information on it, and the county is gonna help me get everything set up. This whole American Rescue Plan will continue on till 2026, so some of us may not still be here. So we have to make sure that the record keeping is kept separate and it's precise, so that in 26, whoever is here, it's made easy for that individual. So I'll keep everybody updated on that. The GAVAC fly car, I did contact the Twigs, and a donation of $10,000 was given to GAVAC last October. The Twigs said GAVAC did acknowledge that they received this donation. I contacted the towns of Wells and Arietta, and they also said they don't think they had ever seen the donation credited to their towns, but they were going to be looking into their records. We did set up a meeting for this Thursday with Rick Wilt and Nick Morrow to discuss the fly car. Rick is retiring this year, and so he is the Wells supervisor and myself, both are now new in office. And when the contract talks took place, Rick was the only one left there, so we want to touch base and get all the background on it. So once we meet this week, I'll be back in touch to let everybody know what's going on and what towns, what we're thinking, and who we're going to be meeting with. Sue Thilking did contact me and also asked if we would like the donation to go directly to the town. And I told her I thought that would be best if they sent it directly to the towns and just earmarked it for the GAVAC vehicle, and not have GAVAC in the middle of it. So that's where we are with GAVAC.
I'm sorry,
No, go
the
ahead.
Consolidated Health District, that should probably go to.
Yeah.
Not the town.
Yep. So, next is our planning board appointment. Has anybody spoken with anybody interested in taking the position? We thought we had it, but we lost out on a young one. As I had said to you folks, when I sent out the agenda, I had called Carol Waller, and she said yes, she would like to sit on the planning board. whoever we fill it with, this term will be from August 3rd of '21 to December 31st of '22. So does anybody have any other names?
Other
Okay.
than the ones that were shared.
Right, with Chris,
Absolutely.
but Chris said she hadn't spoken to any of them.
No, I didn't know you
She was just,
expected me to.
so, I mean, do you want to wait?
No, I can approach some of these people.
We have a
Super.
meeting in 2 weeks first, and we have another planning board meeting that's gonna be imperative to do also, so there's a lot of meetings coming up. So I think
Okay, so,
if you're gonna act,
It was a very comprehensive list, it was a very good list.
Carol,
it was.
Carol is,
I took a
Ca-
drive, a mental
Yes.
drive around the town.
Had to be a rhyme or reason the way you did that.
Yeah. Well, Carol is interested, but it's up to the board if they want to look for someone else. But like Debbie said, we have a meeting in 2 weeks, so we've got to move along here. It's imperative to get someone to fill that seat.
Oh, so we only have one seat left to fill.
right,
One seat.
Oh, well,
well, maybe we could
why don't we just put Carol on?
Carol on.
Okay, so then I'm looking for a motion to appoint Carol.
I'll move.
Okay, does someone
I'll
want to?
second it.
Okay, any further discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
I'll get her oath out tomorrow.
Okay.
No opposed. I would suggest that some of those fertile names that Chris mined out, that we approach them in a more relaxed time frame here, to ask them about their interests going forward, because, you know, there's always a couple coming up.
And the bar is gonna be looking for people too eventually.
Right,
Sure.
that's coming up, so. Okay, so next thing I had on the list was the unemployment refund check. So we received a refund check of $7,861 on July 21st. There was no explanation what it was for. So I called and found out that all employers in New York State were getting reimbursed the first 3 quarters of 2020 COVID money that were paid in. So there was a form letter that was sent out earlier in the year explaining this refund, but had to be filled out and sent back, and we never received it and filled it out and sent it back, but we got the refund. So I did ask about the grievance we filed in June of 2020, and they could not help me. That is another department, but she did say we would hear about that decision once they catch up now that they're all back in the offices. Which to me seems a little ridiculous that she said that we would get that money back too, and that just to me
Well-
is like a double dipping, and they're gonna have to then fix that.
Right, but at first blush, I just assumed that our caterwauling about a false claim was being rectified. Now, we find this is just pro forma, more COVID money from
COVID
the
relief.
sky, right?
Yeah, take the money
So
and
but
run.
we should still continue on the other, because the other one was fraudulent. You know, this is
Yes.
a separate matter, I
Yes.
didn't realize that.
Definitely, yeah.
So, and the other one was over $9,000, so
Right.
they will still owe us money, but knowing the state, they'll send us the full 9,000 and then want us to send back the 7,800, but we know how that goes.
We'll worry about it when they ask us to
Absolutely.
send
I
it
don't know
back.
how they do it municipally, but I can assure you, when you do rarely win one of these things as an employer in the private sector, they do not send you back the money, they credit your account towards future.
And we
payments.
don't pay in for
Right.
unemployment.
Well, the only thing is with this refund, I had to send a letter requesting this refund. Or did we want to leave a credit for the town, and I requested the
remember,
refund,
yeah.
assuming that it was the overpayment that should have never, the fraudulent claims that we were questioning.
My suggestion is spend it the minute we get it.
Yep.
Okay. Next, is the Airbnb rentals letter. Jeanette and I have not gotten together, but we talked about it last week, and we do plan to get together hopefully this week. And we are going to write a letter together, and we're both going to sign it as village and town. And then the village will send out theirs to the Airbnbs in their area, and we will send out to our town Airbnbs, and this is on the garbage issue. So that they understand that they're responsible, and even, it's a business, that even if they're not here, they need to have someone putting it out at the curbside, or someone taking it to the transfer station, but not the town dumpster.
Related, but not specifically to
Correct,
garbage.
yep. Yeah, but once we complete the letter, I will send it to all of you so that you all see the contents and know what it's about.
Right, and specifically to garbage, I think that that's good to have something jointly done quickly with the village, but I believe it was Chris, I've gotten it from a couple of sources, but did you send me the Town of Webb thing from the Adirondack Almanac? Was that from you? I'm not
No,
sure.
it may have been Bob, because he was just talking to me about it this morning.
But
I sent it out
you did, right?
long time ago.
Okay.
right?
Well,
Okay.
it resurfaced
Okay.
on my thing when I was doing some research, and it's a good article, and there's a lot of folks, happens to be the Town of Webb that's bringing it to the fore. But, you know, there's almost too many things to whistle past the graveyard on this issue. And I'm sort of stuck in the middle as somebody who's been beating the drum for over 40 years about we need more lodging. That sort of need has been ameliorated, in fact, one would say fixed, by virtue of all the, I'm saying Airbnb, but it's temporary, TSLs, whatever they call it, these temporary rentals, because there are other sites. But however, there's still those same concerns about safety and party houses and fire control and so on, that, you know, we're going to have to, even if it's in a more broad study, in other words, countywide or something like that. I really feel that that's kind of where we might have it better. I'm always for local, but in this case, these are exactly the same issues that are being faced in the whole Adirondacks, one would say in the whole of resort communities throughout the country. But they have to be looked at just to get some way to codify it. I mean, it's garbage this time. Do we deal with it through realtors? Do we deal with it specifically with renters? The people who are renting these things, I completely understand, kind of cutting back on some of their tax load and so on, and making their camps pay back for them and their mortgages. All makes sense. It's just there's a whole host of potholes here that are not being addressed. So it's going to start with the garbage, but I think it's going to get to be a bigger thing.
Yeah,
My
and
2
and
cents.
it's actually good to see that Town of Webb has pulled that through,
Yeah.
Old Forge, because that was discussed, they've been working on that since last year.
Yes, they have.
And I had brought it up to the county as far as our local area, I've mentioned it twice, and people just look at me like.
Well, it's a
"Well,
political third rail because so many of our friends and neighbors are renting their places, and it's a successful thing. Then you turn around, I mean, Bill Osborne and I had a long conversation about this. He lives on a road, he says, you know, they race back and forth on this road, never seen it like this before. I said, what do you think it is, Bill? He goes, oh, it's all the Airbnbs, you know? I said, well, what do you think, you know, is the solution? He said, damned if I know, because he's in the same boat as I. For 6 years, he and I were hand in hand in the same, we need hotels, we need more rooms, we need cottages, we need this. It's been, I won't say fixed, but it's been really addressed by all of these rentals. However, then all these other sort of things, not to mention, obviously the party houses is a big issue.
Code
My concern
enforcement.
is the safety issue.
Of course.
That's
Code
my
enforcement.
concern, you know, the
Code
septics, the wells,
Code
you know,
enforcement,
fire
sure.
extinguishers, smoke detectors, number of people in the residence, you know, with the septic issues, and that's my concern.
Somebody who ran a motel might have some ideas on that.
I have lots of
know somebody who
ideas.
ran an inn, me too. And it's just, as I say, it's a dicey subject. I don't think anybody should be indicted for their opinion on it, but at some point, there's gonna have to be an objective look at this instead of sort of
We
whistling
talked-
past it.
I dare to say over a year ago about having Bob go in and inspect these Airbnbs. And has that not started happening?
No, and it's,
How can it?
there's a whole,
I don't know.
there's a good reason for it, for him having trepidation about it. Because there's no certified list, it's all done sort of quietly. In fact, in this study, they're trying to best determine how many are in the town of Webb, which is a big area. And eventually their code guy says, look, all you gotta do is talk to the realtors, look at the signs, because it's not all Airbnb, some of it's just cottage for
For
rent, sort of
Verbo,
sign,
something.
yeah, VNRB or
Yeah, VNRB.
whatever it might be, they're estimating 500 in the town of Webb. So, it's big, but it ain't that big, when you
Right,
put it across the park, when you put it across the state or the country. And it's the same exact thing, when Don says code, or we say, inspections. We don't have anyone who's specific to this. Maybe, like I say, this could take a while to find the right place for this discussion, and then let folks come in, maybe have some open forums. Let folks come in, and I'm all for it, I'm against it. Well, instead of just bringing your axe to sharpen, give us some ideas for solutions. Where's the middle
Yes.
ground?
Yes.
So we can have some codified thing that then Bob could go in on. Because clearly, the biggest thing is someone said, well, Airbnb, they police themselves about partying.
Right.
Well, I gotta tell you, a certain councilman has a couple of sons that were in they call them a bachelor weekend, this past weekend with another young man they know, and they got a party house, and they had that party, and I'm sure there were neighbors who were not as pleased with them as they were.
What?
Did I say that all right without throwing my son's names into it too?
Yeah, as long as people didn't think it was me,
No.
but I
What?
only have one son.
I have a.
I drew up a list of lodging before I ran for the town board. I was curious because the motels kept closing. And I came up with, and I've kept that list updated,
For beds, Chris? Rooms, beds, like that kind of?
not beds, I got 44 cabins, 49 rooms,
Rooms.
12 efficiencies and 10 houses.
Can you send that to me? Because I would like to
Yeah.
compare it to the list that I got from the county.
Oh, good.
Because with the list we got from the county, Jeanette and I, there's some that we have names, but there's no addresses and we're not quite sure where they are.
Okay, I'll send
But
it
if
to
you send that, Jeanette and I can play around with that too and see where we
Yeah.
can get with that. That would be very helpful.
And I know it's old fashioned because, I was involved in this at a time when it wasn't, this whole Airbnb thing was not as big. But both at the local chambers, of which we had 4 in the county at the time, or at Osborne's old office, the one that Christie runs now, they have no handle, or had no handle on this, as to how many of those are out there. Chambers would kind of like to know, well, geez, here's a list of
Well,
other
I see
places.
why, because it took a long time in
Yeah.
front of the computer
Yeah,
to come
I'll
up,
bet.
and I'm sure this isn't complete,
No.
but
Every
it's
day it's
probably darn
changing.
close.
Every day
Yeah.
it's changing.
But our old canned speeches about, I was born in 1955 and there has not been a motel or hotel room built in this county since. That used to be the shock line in order to get folks to realize we need more lodging. Well, now people just shrug their shoulders because some of this is sort of being covered,
Yep.
but it's also not being regulated.
Yep.
But perhaps if we start compiling a list,
Mm-hmm.
as we get names, have a list, and then do an educational session with the property owners, like even in here,
Yeah.
or letters, and say, be courteous, don't, this is what you do with your garbage, don't,
I mean, it's a seminar we could have through the chamber, it's something that we could have that's bigger than, just our town. That's why I'm leaning towards something that might even be as much as county, but
Yeah.
we
And
know
it's-
we have a code, but it's not
Right,
state code.
it's that we want to work with them, not
Right,
against them. So
exactly.
work together,
You
it could be a very
Right.
positive thing for
Right.
everybody.
And educating them, then if things get out of control and there's issues, then you can
Right.
maybe do the code
Yep. I agree.
after. That's the way
Yeah.
a ranger I know used to do his job.
Okay.
I'll
And-
educate you and then.
And we have to realize too, then you have to have someone going out enforcing and going out and inspecting, and Bob puts in a lot more hours than he's supposed to be already, so we have to be prepared for
Right.
that too, just down the road.
One other thing to think about in this whole thing is, nobody has any business telling somebody what they're gonna do with their property. But because of all these Airbnbs, there is absolutely no long-term rentals around that are available for anybody that wants to rent for the summer or wants to move up and start a business.
Because they're making better money weekly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$2,500 a week for a
Right.
rental, it's a lot of money.
I have some, people that have been looking all summer for a place to rent.
Well, I'm just go on record saying that I'm a very much a libertarian, very much believe in what you said about not telling people what to do with their property, but let's understand, that's what zoning is.
Yeah,
Zoning tells you what you can do with your property.
I mean, when it
And we all want
starts, when
zoning.
it starts harming other people,
Yeah.
Right.
then it's a problem.
So if you're running a business, but it's a not commercial, piece of property, at what point does it become a nuisance? Well, it becomes a nuisance if you have this, or this, so we just have to codify what that list of things are.
And speaking of non-commercial business, if it's owned non-commercial, can it be put to a commercial use? As is renting for weekends as an Airbnb?
So far, that's been tested and people, been pleased with their result. It's just, I don't think we're looking to close the barn door.
Yeah.
No,
Or
we're not.
chase out folks that are, having good success both for the visitors and for themselves. We just, we should be trying to host these educational
Safety.
sort of, and safety.
I'd like to see us bring some of the Airbnb owners in on this when we start.
Oh, no question.
Trying to put
It's gotta be.
regulations
Yeah.
together.
I don't know beans about it.
Yep.
I mean, they do.
But I did drive around a little this weekend trying to get my little grandson to school. And there were a couple houses, which I assume are Airbnbs, that had 6, 7 cars
Yeah.
parked outside.
Yeah.
And they're not designed for that many
Yeah.
people.
Right.
I've received no formal complaints, but the complaints I've received are exactly that.
Yep.
The neighborhood is crowded, the parking is more than we've ever seen, et cetera.
Okay, so moving along, taxpayer complaint, I sent everybody a letter, I'm asking everybody not to be mentioning names of the person that filed the complaint, or the names of the businesses or individuals. But as we're discussing this, as you know, there were quite a few businesses named as well as individuals. There was only 2 in Lake Pleasant, the rest were in the village, so the village handled it with a letter, covering their area. For us, we had 2 named, both of them were businesses. The one is still an open, permit, and still working on the project, so I don't really think there's anything you can do to someone that's still working and trying to get things complete. The other one was one that had been brought to us in the past, so I gave everybody a copy of a planning board meeting guide. It's actually the minutes from July 21st of 2016. I just thought maybe if you all kind of read that, it states that a berm was discussed for this one property, and it was decided to forego the berm along Route 8. Trees should be planted as a screen. However, that didn't happen, and it says in there that the area should be screened with a berm for sound and visual screening. It doesn't say it will be or has to be. So this is what is being questioned by the owner of the property.
Maybe it should be as opposed to shall be.
Correct. Yes, shall. So, I did contact Tom Conley because we had discussed it 2 meetings ago to ask Tom if he had contacted the individual with a letter, and he had not. He was hoping to see the individual, but had not. So we need to know from this board where we would like to go from here. This individual was approached about 3 years ago by Bob, and he was informed that the way this is worded, if we want, it's no problem, we can go ahead and pursue it, but we'll be hearing from his attorney. There'll be a lawsuit.
Perhaps,
We should
So-
speak without us.
I think a letter should be written at the very least that, he's in, how do I put it?
He's not in
He's
compliance.
not in compliance with what the planning board had come up with, and then let's see where it goes from there.
Okay.
Yeah, it would not hurt to run it by an attorney, simply because you can tell by the minutes discussion, as they narrated here, what the
Intent.
what the intent of the planning board was. This was a change of use, which is a very specific thing on a commercial property. And I think a big change of use. And I have no opinion
Bless you.
less
Oh, thank you.
about, I'm not on that planning board, but I've sat on several. And in this case, I think it's being flouted for a couple of minor word uses that perhaps the planning board did not seek an attorney in order to send this to the.
Right.
And again, we're not privy at this point to what they sent. This is their minutes, which is
Correct.
usually a sort of a,
There is no letter in the files.
parenthetical.
There was no
We looked.
letter
Okay, well,
that we could find.
right, well, that's all you get is the minutes, but clearly, he must have made a written request for a change of use. So something had to tell him, this is what we've decided. Now, if it was the chairman just stopping over for coffee and saying you should do this and you should do that, irrespective of that, unless we pursue this, we're not gonna be able to enforce any kind of actions by the planning board.
Right, and he was at the meeting. It wasn't like this was done behind closed doors.
He
was
was able to
present.
weigh in on the planning board. meeting.
Present.
Right, so this is 5 years ago, and you have both new people and a new chair about to be seated. I think we should either meet jointly with the new planning board, but first, the town attorney tells us whether this is some drop dead thing that because these words were used in minutes. I mean, if there's no record of the letter, let the landowner produce his approval. Where is that? And did that say should or shall, this is a little bit
That's
too
what
much
I'm
coffee
saying.
house.
Call-
Okay.
I don't wanna say
So-
call his bluff, but,
We seem to have no record of you being approved for any of this, irrespective of the language in the minutes. Please produce, yours. If not, this is not enough to say, no, I'm not doing it because of what's in
Right.
these minutes.
Okay, so I'll contact Laura, I'll send her a copy of this, have her go through it, get her opinion, and then go from there.
Right.
I'll let you guys know what her opinion is, and then give it to the planning board and run it by them and see.
well, I
If
don't
there-
think they
There's no
wanna deal with
permit
it.
on file,
There's a permit,
and that does not include conditions?
Yeah, I'm stunned by
I
this.
think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does.
Yeah, there
And
is,
where is it?
It should be at the office.
well, it wouldn't be a building permit,
no, but you look at the bottom of
it's not a
the
permit.
meetings too, it says making sure all current codes are being followed. I think it's
Points.
in the code that you shall have it screened. It's in the code when it's not I don't know, what's the word for it, non-conforming use.
Yeah,
It should be in the code, it's in the code that it has to be screened.
in my estimation, even with this, should this be a wrong use of words? This property has 300 feet of road frontage, and we have an eyesore local law that should pertains to everyone, not just to residential properties. I don't see how this can be
So this
flouted.
could even, yeah.
But again, I'd just like to get, to know what the real things say. To Chris's point, a written request for a change of use had to be filed. Somewhere, the planning board has to then give that approval in writing somewhere. And I'm sure that's what our attorney's gonna tell us, but short of that, let's go back to the drawing board and this is for either the code that Don's speaking of or for the eyesore law, this is not, it can't stand because of a
Right.
should or shall.
Yep, okay, so that's, I'm glad we got a copy of this and everybody, we got to discuss this, and, I'll keep you updated how we make out with
Can I
that.
just weigh in briefly on the rest of the letter, which is more just sort of scattershotting different businesses and so on that this taxpayer would like to see upgraded. I would propose that for this year, the business properties be given a pass for some of what I see here. I mean, these are her take on aesthetics. Rather than tell the businesses that are all suffering greatly and have through a year plus of COVID, this would not be the time. I'd like to be down there telling them they should.
Correct, but,
Take their side.
I mean, the village, I thought, handled it
too.
nicely in her
The next letter
letter.
was
She
nice.
did a good job. So we're covered with that. It's just the one business in town of Lake Pleasant. The other business, like I said, still has an open permit and still working in progress, so
Yep.
we'll go from there. Okay, next is committee reports. Chris, do you have any committee reports?
Yeah, I had some stuff that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Like, just looking quick to see if any of it's committee.
Take your time.
And none of it is.
No?
No.
Okay, Nance?
No, I was hoping to hear from Sammy tonight.
Us too. Us too. Neil, committee?
No,
Don?
nothing for me.
No,
Nothing for committee. Okay,
Thank
Deb?
Cemetery?
Randy?
So cemetery. Devin, have you heard back?
Nope.
anything from them?
Nope.
So Masons and fence people are eluding us.
I told you that I sent it to him by email, the signed contract, signed proposal.
For cemetery.
And then I called his office and no response, and then I called his cell phone directly. And that's gonna be like probably 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks ago on a Friday, and he said that he was checking in with his office and he'd let me know if they received a proposal. That's all I got.
Well, didn't he say that the materials were taking like a slow boat to
But
China
he
to
hasn't
his
accept- he hasn't-
distributor or
But he hasn't
something?
told us that he accepted the signed
Yeah, he hasn't
proposal.
even
He hasn't even
put it on
acknowledged that he
his list
received
yet,
it, and that's,
that we know
right.
of. Never mind.
Would he be
So
considered a
we're in limbo.
contractor? Seems, whether it's fencing or roofing or anything else.
Yes.
Or house.
Might as well put them right there on the
Yeah.
same list.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew it was gonna be delayed,
Yes.
Yeah.
but now we're looking at
Because I
August, I
think he
mean,
said the fall, so he's probably
Yeah,
not.
we've probably blown our window right out for this year on that.
maybe we could,
Debbie, have you told him we're dying to get this done?
yeah. I said, maybe we should try calling him, put him on speaker for both of us, I don't know what else to do, maybe he'd pay more
I may be
attention
in
to
there
you.
someday, you know.
Okay, so next I'm looking at anything else, Randy?
No, I have something for Randy, but
Okay, okay. I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills from July 30th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussions? No. Okay. Next, public comment. Anybody? Nobody. Okay, we'll start with roundtable. We'll start with you, Randy. We'll start there.
we have received a notification that one more of our FEMA projects from the Halloween storm has been set forth, and we should be seeing a check at some point in time for that.
Checks in the mail.
One of the tiny little ones, but one of 4, so that's
That's a good
plus.
thing.
Yeah, it's one less.
Yep.
Yeah, we stepped through the last hoop that we needed to, and they didn't come up with another one, so that was good. And I successfully, sent in the grant for a snowmobile groomer, last Thursday, so that is in the process, and cross our fingers till next April when they announce things.
And Randy, can you just briefly mention what this is? Because people seem to misunderstand and think that the town of Lake Pleasant is buying another groomer. Can you elaborate?
Sure. So what we are putting in for a grant for, it's an 80-20% grant, is a lease on a new groomer. It's a 5-year lease. We will end up paying, the 20% comes out to be, with the drag, $54,000 total for 5 years. That being said, at that point in time, it goes back to them, we don't do any maintenance like leasing a truck. We don't do the maintenance on, we don't do any of that. The grant is very specific on buying US steel, so we can't buy because everything is not built with US steel anymore. Plain and simple. They changed it from when the clubs were buying, you could get a letter saying it was assembled in the US. You can't do that anymore.
No.
They want the steel to be made here. Trump had something to do with that.
So this is a federal grant.
This is a federal grant,
There we go.
and, it's what the clubs have gotten for other ones. So if we do get such grant approved, we will not see the money until 2023 probably, first of all. If then. And we couldn't get a groomer between now and then anyway, because they don't have any in backlog and everything else. If so happens, then one or maybe even two of our current groomers would be going down the road. That is the biggest plus, because there goes the maintenance of it and the headaches and
20%.
everything else.
That would be the BRs.
Yes.
Good.
I may have to keep one of them if this little debacle with the state and tree huggers continues on, where they are talking now, they're gonna knock our trails down to less than 8 feet.
Right.
It is a
Right.
debacle, they're going back to 1985 standards. Let's just go backwards some more. So that is right now.
Keep fighting.
Flying by.
Okay, thank you,
So that's what our grand scheme of plans are.
thank you. Chris, would you have anything for roundtable?
I did.
I'm ready, we're all ready.
Did you get the invoice from National Grid yet?
I did not,
Okay. I'll contact him by phone.
I did not, and I'm very worried because I understand that when the village got their bill, it was much higher than the agreed amount, is that correct? Had you heard anything about it? I have to talk to Jeanette and find out, because I wanna make sure however theirs was worded, ours is not worded the same way, and the same thing happened to us. Someone had been at their meeting, I wasn't at that meeting, someone else was, and said that that's what was mentioned, so, okay,
Interesting.
yeah.
Very.
Okay.
Septic systems. This is becoming my pet peeve now. I know we kinda got hung up on, well, who's gonna do the inspections? Now we got the law passed, and we need somebody to do inspections, and we kinda got tripped by that. And, I thought of somebody that I thought would do an excellent job. He's retired now, and he's kind of like a thorn in the side of the village about things being done properly and things looking right, and big environmentalist, so I don't think he would be easily swayed by somebody saying, oh, my septic system's just fine, you know, and any arguments. And I'm just wondering, are we at a point where we could think about that, or are we gonna put money in next year's budget for somebody to do
But we
these
didn't even,
inspections?
I didn't pass it.
We didn't pass a
We
law.
haven't passed a
We
law.
haven't passed,
I
we
thought
haven't
we
done
adopted
anything,
that.
no.
Oh,
We haven't done
No.
anything. And
No.
truthfully, it seemed, I know the village did. Town of Lake Pleasant pulled the reins in and decided to give it some time.
But we adopted the county's law, right? The 1976 law?
Village. I don't believe we did. No,
We
didn't.
I didn't see the need in that either, myself. The county law, public law number 1, has stood since I had thick hair, and I don't know,
Come on, Neil.
1976, for Christ's sake. Wow. I think it's irrelevant. The county law is the county law, irrespective of whether we adopt it or not. And we've all, played to that tune. What back in those days, and then the history that was sort of researched, what we really should have, and again, this falls up in Lake Pleasant more than here, we really should have a county enforcement of the county law, number 1. We did have some tertiary responsibility from the soil and water for a while, and Florence did it for the county for several years. there just isn't any sheriff per se right now on that. But, no, I personally think you could drive a truck through some of the loopholes that are in the village's adoption. And the minute that I brought it up and went to a few meetings and entertained a few people from Lake Pleasant about it, they were, I will not say up in arms, but they were very concerned about the width and breadth of what they considered the waters of Lake Pleasant. Much like a lot of us were concerned some years back when they were talking about the waters of the United States being pushed through by the Fed. It's for those that have a small pond, for those that have a creek that runs through their properties way out in the town rural areas. I just don't think that one size fits all. And
Well, I don't
personally-
think that we need anything that elaborate by a long
Me either.
shot.
No.
I think we need to get septic system inspections of lakefront properties
There you go.
going. Whether the town has to hire somebody, the county's not gonna do it, you know, these lakes are our livelihood,
No question.
and if they get polluted, you know, then everybody's gonna be whining about it.
Right.
I agree with that, but I know I was talking to Jamie Parslow when we were walking the pathways, and she was saying that the major problem with the lakes is the salt contamination. It's not the septics.
Well, how
And
do they know? There's no septic inspection.
because they test the lakes every month, they go to every lake in the county and test them, for all different things.
Soil and water
Soil-
continues to
con-
test, as does
constant.
LPSA.
Absolutely,
I know
and
they
when,
do
and when we
septic
had the
tests and
motel, they came in all the
E. coli
time.
tests.
They did.
Yeah.
They test for everything.
I can't believe that these septic systems are all A-OK.
Well, I'm not saying all of them are, but I'm just saying that their findings with the lakes is it's not the septic pollution, it's actually the salt pollution which is affecting the lakes.
And two of my conversations with LPSA folks, all, I would say, loosely fit the description of the folks you were, whoever the person was you were describing it, both an environmentalist and a persnickety painter or whatever. Both of those were quick to point out that, oh no, we get a lot more nutrification and nitrification in the lake than we do fecal matter and that sort of thing. It's every new camp that puts in all these pesticides and what do they call it? Fertilizers.
Fertilizers.
Yeah, I mean, but a runoff for those things are really a whole lot more of an issue. Nutrification in Sacandaga Lake, same thing. It's, you're nutrifying the Sacandaga Lake with a pipe that is as wide as this table coming out of Moffett Beach after treated septic is discharged. Now, we don't want any problem with Moffett Beach, but LPSA is quick to point out, we test that twice a year for this and that, and it's nutrification, so that just gets more vegetation growing in the lake. I just didn't see where so much of this, and then when I traced it back, it was to a property that was not in the village but in the town, and it was, to me, a fence dispute about a person selling a property. They said, well, my septic's not that good. This is the kind of things that can be handled at closing, and should have been handled at closing.
And I'm just gonna speak from experience, just selling our motel. When you sell a business, you have to go through all the inspections, the septics all have to be tested. We had to go through New York State Board of Health, they came down, we had to follow the guidelines, we had to have an engineer there to be sure that everything was fine, and we had guaranteed the septic for the life of the mortgage that we were holding. If we hadn't held the mortgage and it was a bank, they would have done the same thing. I mean, you know, you can't just sell a piece of property and not do anything. And I mean, I myself would not put money on the line and not want to know. I want to know about the well and the septic. I want to know about the foundation. And I think anybody that's putting money on the line is going to be concerned about those things.
Every time.
And I feel that we have DEC, we have APA, we have the Board of Health. I mean, we have 3 agencies over us governing all that. Do we really need to bring in another layer? That's just my
Well, I mean,
opinion.
that was I'm in the minutes for the meetings that I attended. They had already done all the work and then basically wanted me to come in and say, oh yeah, just go to stamp it. And I just kept asking questions that they were not prepared for, but I said, we already have inspectors, right? I mean, you drop one dime on one property and you get a threefer. The APA comes, the DOH comes, the DEC comes, separate people in green. I just don't see this as a, it's like a solution looking for a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Plus every, I don't know how many years it's been, but every new septic system has to be designed by an engineer.
Absolutely.
And stamped.
And stamped, and if you do major or any kind of work on
Any kind of work.
an old septic system, it's gotta be engineered.
And these are the things that were brought to me the minute I was mentioned as going to be put in some joint committee, which, well, it was quite off-putting that the committee work was all done, and then I was sort of invited for sort of a show meeting. I'm not saying the town should not have something down the road, but I think it should be something real and with teeth and with funding to enforce.
I'll also say that Town of Arietta definitely was pursuing a septic law.
Yes, they were.
And 3 out of 4 board members, I guess, were against it. The community, they did public hearings, the community was very against it. They ended up, after all that time spent putting this together, they squashed it. They
Well, it
said,
would
"The
have
heck with
voted
it."
down, so
They
they
just-
tabled it.
They
but-
take, yeah, it's
And
done.
that also brings in the bed and or the Airbnbs again.
Sure.
If they're not used according to what they're designed for, you're gonna pollute.
That's right.
Yeah.
An awful lot of them are on the lake.
Yep.
Well,
Anything else, Chris?
we gotta stay
The
with
thank
this.
you note, I don't know,
Yeah, do you want me to read it?
sure.
Okay, so, just to make a mention, that, Chris had sent this thank you note to Allison. We want to thank you for all your work on the CFA for the Lake Pleasant Museum Foundation project. Your time is valuable, and we are so appreciative of all you did. Sincerely, and this will be the town of Lake Pleasant. And I'll just mention also that the village sent a letter of support for the town for our grant application for the museum to Allison. And in turn, the town sent one for the village grant. They had applied for a New York State waterfront revitalization program, so we sent a letter of support for them as well. But yes, Chris, and do you want the board members individually to sign this?
I would
or-
like that, yeah.
Okay,
I think that would be nice.
Could
Okay,
you
we'll start with
explain who
Dawn.
Allison is?
And Allison Gaddy is a senior planner with the Lake George, Lake Champlain Regional
Regional Planning Board.
Okay,
And
thank you.
she is the person who did the heavy lifting on this. She filled out the consolidated funding application. I just did the running. She told me what she needed, I got what she needed. So,
Okay.
She's an asset.
Thank
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And she was very pleasant to work with.
Yes, and very efficient.
Mhm.
You know, she was in
Yeah.
contact all the time. She really followed through. Yes, very nice. Anything else, Chris?
I sent you that information about people who don't have broadband
Yes.
could contact you. I don't, you know, a lot of this stuff happens in the northern part of North Country.
Yeah.
And they leave us out. I don't know if that's something that you've been informed of, or?
Yes, and it has been worked on, and I do have it here, and I probably have it in the pile over
Um,
there. My concern is, it is asking for people that don't have broadband to contact your town supervisor. You know, when we do have people that have problems, they do call us and we work with it, but I don't think that we want to have people calling because they have all these issues. If they haven't been able to work it out, we certainly would want them to call, but I don't think we want to advertise that anybody that is having any issue, call us, but,
Well, this isn't about having an issue with the
No.
provider. This is if you have no access at all,
Right. It's,
if it's not available to you.
but I have not found one person that it's not available to. I have had someone call me, as a matter of fact, one was Bearhurst last year, and she told me that Frontier said that they were all done up here and blah, blah, blah. Within a few days, Frontier was there, and they were working on hooking them up. So I just think it was who they talked to. I think it was a miscommunication. But anybody that calls seems to, we've had a couple just recently that Debbie and I have worked on, and helped folks out. So I just think when people do run into that block wall, they do tend to call town hall to say, is there anything you can do to help? And that's when we step in. But
Yeah.
I'm just afraid of putting that out there, that everybody will be calling us every
Right,
time they have an
and
issue.
So this
also-
money is gonna be gone at the end of the year.
This
That's my
piece
only
was
concern.
from Chris, and the money has finally come available. And, yeah, I know I printed mine out too. No, but the money's finally come available, so now those folks who are the purse string holders are looking for projects. And you're like, well, geez, where were you, a year or two ago?
Yeah.
But there are many parts of this county where that might be germane. I don't know if
Well,
it's
what
been brought
about
up.
Snowy Mountain Lane? Do those
Yeah.
people have broadband? I doubt it.
Snowy Mountain
You
Lane.
mean, Volusians?
Solutions.
Volusians, is that what?
Yeah, it's just past Galusha's on the.
Yeah, I know, okay.
The thing that I would be concerned about is, I think most people have DSL, and a lot of people wanna upgrade to fiber optic. And I think that if they don't have, that might be confusing as to, well, I don't have the highest speed, or I don't have, the fiber, and start calling and saying,
Right.
have them come and upgrade what I have, and it's,
But, excuse me, I'm sure that this came across Barbara's desk as well.
Yeah.
What they're asking for is for local electeds like you to weigh in up the chain to any areas of concern that don't have any broadband. And then take it from there. Maybe if we do have broadband, maybe there's some money to expand the
Fiber
options for
optic.
broadband. But you should be able to kick this right to county.
Yeah, they discuss this all the time.
I know they
They
do.
have been
This
working on
this
this.
is the cause celeb for Mr. Farber.
Yes, yes. Okay, anything else, Chris?
The lack of workforce housing, is it, should we think about creating a committee to try and look into what any possibilities? It's getting really dire. You've got somebody who can't even find a place. I got somebody that was trying for 6 months to help her find a place. She finally did, only because somebody else moved out of her place. The Airbnbs have really squeezed the workforce.
This is all right there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's an unintended consequence. When the Airbnbs started being created, I was, great, the private sector is stepping up and, this will solve our lodging problem. Well, it created another problem, and it's the workforce housing. And there is, we don't have workforce, we don't have businesses. It's the bottom line, and it's getting very difficult. So, at one time, the town of Long Lake was looking at affordable housing. And there was money, you were on the board then, Neil, on the board of supervisors.
Yep.
And that didn't fly because at that time, there was plenty of rental units in the town.
Yeah,
People didn't want housing that was on property.
right, and there was pushback because the town of Indian Lake had been involved in affordable housing, because it's hard to call it just workforce, it has to be affordable so you don't slight seniors or whomever. And in fact, Indian Lake kind of got stuck for a fair amount of money when they joined in and part of this and built things that ended up not being fully rented. Now, I don't know if they're fully rented now, but it was not the right time, and so as you say, Long Lake backed away from it. I know that been on the Workforce Investment Board for 18 years. It's always been a thing, and as an employer, it's always been a thing. It seems to be spoken about more now. But I can assure you, in Dean Lane's years, and how many years that it has always been a problem trying to get folks here that can afford to. I guess it has, and my selling point to the fellow who bought my business was keep them in-house, turn these rooms, which of course took more rooms away from rental, but take these rooms and make them for your staff, because in the long run, the 5% of revenue, it's not worth it. It's much more important to be able to recruit staff. That's the problem. There are less college kids, there are less other things, But you just can't say, I know someone perfect for this who lives in Fulton County or Oneida County, but we just can't get them to move here because there's no place to move. This again is a bigger issue than just us. I'm not saying to put this to the Adirondacks or to the county for any other reason that I don't think we have the wherewithal to do anything but advise on it. I mean, we
I think
can't,
we could do a lot of legwork and make recommendations.
recommendations, sure.
You know,
I mean,
Don, you seem to be interested in it, I know I am. I'm sure we could get other people involved.
clearly, it's a crisis thing, but as I say, I've seen it for a long time to be that. I've said, I mean, if there's anything to be discussed, if there's anything we can do in a regional format, I don't think there's a whole lot we can do on our own on this issue.
Well, I don't know, that's what I would like to look into.
Yeah, there is workforce housing over in North Creek
Yeah,
at the end of
There's
Peaceful,
workforce what?
housing in North Creek.
Yeah,
It's at the end of Peaceful Valley Road in 20.
and who put that up?
I don't know.
no, it was.
So it's a
state
very,
issue.
it's very attractive, it's nice
I'll have to
housing.
go take a look at that, 'cause
My recollection is, it's been there a long time. My recollection is it was a state thing. North Creek has a pretty sweet deal with ORDA, and that played into it.
I'm sure.
no, that's true.
But I would gladly meet, well, Chris and I or
Yep, I'll be there.
okay, and then I'll just be a consultant, because we can't have three on a committee of us, but we
Okay,
can-
so Don and Chris, and then you'll just be a consultant.
I'll weigh in and see if I can't find some other folks. I think here's the nexus again of this whole temporary residence things. I don't want to throw Airbnb continuously into this bus.
But
No, because we don't want to discourage or lose that too.
No, not at all.
it is having a big effect on
Yes,
the area, in more ways than one.
Okay, Chris, was there anything else?
No,
No, okay. Nancy? Neil?
one thing, anyone have any input, or have they noticed the lighting that is now
Dale?
LED?
I don't go out
No.
in the dark.
Well, we don't have it where you are
Yeah,
yet.
you
Not
don't
yet.
have.
But I
How is it?
I'm just hoping to hear from others before I wade in, but
You live in the
it's a
village.
different kind of lighting.
that's
The
the first thing.
sodium was very harsh,
Mhm.
and this is much softer.
It almost has a blue hue to it.
I haven't noticed that, but it is much softer. And I don't know if
Your
it's,
cataracts.
definitely doesn't seem to be as bright, that's for sure.
It is clearly, I don't know how, I'm not really up on lumens versus whatever's, it's not as bright. Those of us who leave out 24/7 their flag, I'm wondering whether I need to put a light on my flag now.
They have
Because the
nice
street
little
lights,
solar ones.
they do, the
Yeah.
street lights have always been adequate for such things.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring it up here because we're next. That's what we're gonna see, so.
Yeah, but we don't have it downtown.
No,
That's the downtown.
yeah,
I think that what they did down there is perfectly adequate for the highways.
I'm not so sure, I think it's perfectly adequate for driving. I
Yeah.
would not say it's perfectly adequate for
No, I
walking.
think they're gonna regret.
You live on Route 30, I live on Route 30, thousands of people a week, and that is no exaggeration. Walk, or bike, or push, or whatever, past my house, and a few have asked me, what's changed? And I said, well, if you're walking at night, these folks might need to have flashlights the way they do, they're walking past your house at night.
You don't walk on the road at night, but it's
Not Route 8.
70 miles an hour.
Enough said, I
Karen, have you noticed, Karen? You live in the village?
Yeah, did they change the ones by our house?
That I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if they got down there.
They're all done, so
They're all done in the
it's
village?
kind of flat looking as compared to the
Yeah.
old ones.
It's darker.
It's way darker.
It's darker, yeah,
Just saying,
it's darker.
we need to adapt, I guess.
Yeah, okay,
the other way.
Well, if we're gonna
okay.
take any kind of action regarding the changes that we're gonna make on our town roads. It's, you know, I think now the village has these lights up, perhaps that they're regretting that they didn't require, more lumens.
I haven't heard from them about it, I don't
No,
want to
neither
put any
have I.
word in their mouth.
And I really haven't heard any complaints either.
No,
It's
just a
just an
couple.
observation, you know, but.
Raising your
The one-
hand.
Yeah, the one thing I want is, you know, I noticed it like day one driving through, you know, in the morning, because there's not a lot of cars, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm driving through here and stuff, going down or going wherever. The one thing that I noticed, if we put these lights on our town roads, is at this current time, say I look outside to see how hard it's snowing or whatever, you're not going to see that anymore.
Great.
Because it's so.
You used to look up to a streetlight to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was this a mistake?
So,
Well, I don't know if it's a mistake, if they cut the lumens down, if they can brighten them up, if they can change whatever.
well, that's where I'm headed
You
with
know what I
this,
mean?
is do we want to
They are definitely not.
change the
same.
requirements that we made on the
Right.
I guess we can look into that.
size of the LEDs?
Yeah.
Because this would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, we all know they have LEDs in the home. They're bright,
Oh,
if
yeah.
they're enough.
If they're not.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing we need to look into.
Well, if you'd like me to pursue it, I'd be glad to, Betsy.
Okay. Okay,
And see, what I notice is because of where our street light is, which is in front of the house, but we don't see that light at night because of the trees. I think the point that somebody made here, it's more of benefit to the driver than it is to the homeowner looking out. You know, it might be more I don't say it's more beneficial, but it might be
They're
more
pushed straight down.
obvious to the driver on a car versus somebody who's in a house looking out, where before you could see somebody walking past your house, where now you might not be, it might not be as visible.
Perhaps.
So I think that's something,
Yeah,
if
that
that
could
was
be
an issue
dangerous.
on the town road,
to me.
That
Well,
does.
but we all have lighting on our properties and we can put on the ones that come on with motion,
Right,
et cetera.
exactly, yes.
This could be adequate, but I think it's worth at least a phone call.
Well, it could be dangerous on.
Okay, Chris.
Like on Route 8 or
Exactly.
Bush Mountain Road or something.
I think the roads are probably fine, it's all these other things we're used
Exactly,
to.
I agree with you, I think the roads probably are fine,
We'll see.
but for the homeowner, it's a different perspective if you're not.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna make some people like them because they're not shining in their windows.
Exactly,
And
right.
other people's are gonna want more light.
Well, people should be out walking without a flashlight at night anyway.
You're
We're out
right.
here.
Right.
You know.
It's true.
Don, do you have anything?
I was just gonna ask Randy, I know the contractor situation, but is there a date when the sidewalks in front of the town hall
July 4th, wasn't it?
are gonna be
Yeah.
done?
He expected it to be done before July 4th.
This is the same man who's spoken up before the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Previous, yep. And he has not as much as returned calls or nothing.
Should
Well, at
we-
least now he's off Bob's job, that means he only had Sherry's and then he's come to us, so.
Okay, so,
That's-
and I heard he was about done with Sherry, so
Yeah,
maybe, hopefully this week.
Yeah, cause another
Be
winter
nice.
with those sidewalks is gonna be
Yeah,
tough.
we can't do that.
Okay, so I only have a couple of things, because we already hit up a couple of them discussing other issues during the meeting. Dave McComb stopped in this morning just to let us know a couple of signs on the pathways had been knocked down, so he got them and he put them back in place. It's all done, we're good to go. Thank you, Dave, as always. Oak Mountain, I just want to mention the Emergency Rescue Lodge ribbon cutting last week. It was with Senator Tedisco, was really, really nice. We had a nice, the sheriff was there with his canine dog, and he did a really great display of what the dog does, the training. He was saying that Purina supplies all the dog food for the canines, that twice a year they go up to, am I on the right? Buffalo, and pick up a pallet of dog food. The cans that are donated at the transfer station, all that money goes towards the canines for training and, what was the other thing? Training and something else. Remember? Anybody remember?
Yes,
Thank you.
well, it is training, and of course, the dog lives with him.
Yep.
But the whole
It does.
program more or less has to sustain itself.
Yes.
So they do the programs, they look for donation, they were trying to generate enough to keep a canine unit here in the county. And it is, it's pretty.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes.
I hope that it's helpful. Reason it was there is because part of the reason for this facility is for search and rescue. And both Bill Osborne and the 501c3 they put together did a great job.
Yeah.
And not just the Tedisco, but a couple of other grants as well.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen it, and if you don't ski, it'll just be a good time to get it right up there in fall, foliage look. It's really
Check it
quite
out.
something.
Yeah, and I also want to mention that Oak Mountain did put on a luncheon after the fact. It was really, really nice. They did a great job. It was really nice. And thank you to Bill Osborne for pursuing all this
Yeah.
and all the volunteers that worked up there.
It was a
They
nice turnout.
had a great turnout. It was really a nice day, and we had sun while we were up there. So that's all I had. So let me just double check. I think that was it.
Next meeting.
Yep, our next meeting will be August 16th at 7 o'clock. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Guess what I'm gonna do?
Done, and second. And okay, we're good to go. Good to go. Does somebody have that card that Chris
Christine has it.
Chris has it, okay.
I think it's still done blank, but when they do meet.